WMVU radio station in the local Akron area. And Christavus has come with us today just to talk a little bit about what WMVU is and how we can access it and why it's important. Chris, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. To start this interview, I just wanted to get a little bit more background information about you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you decided to start WMVU.
That's a great question, Darius. Oh, God, without getting off into too much, Darius, I actually got involved with the entertainment industry as early as I can tell you, probably as early as 1989. Even before that, I was involved with the entertainment through some of my family members. I actually had the opportunity to play drums at St. Vincent St. Mary, and post 1989, summer of '89, I had the opportunity to. The plan was originally to play drums in the University of Akron, band, and to become this, this super duper great drummer. And then when I got there, I saw that these drummers had been playing since they were like 3 and 4 years old. So I was like, well, I don't know if I want to do that, even though you have to work hard. And I had the opportunity to interview with WZIP 88.1. Back then it was called WAUP. And when I got on WAUP, it was just a fluke. I sent in a cassette tape to the general manager, Tom Beck. Got a call back or a letter, and it said, "Hey, you're allowed to join radio." So got on the radio, WAUP at the time, and really, really enjoyed being on the radio. And from there, I got involved into doing some other special event promotions through the University Program Board, which led to other things in the music industry, which allowed me to gain a ton of experience. Now, if we fast forward to WMVU, and if you want to, we can talk about that filler stuff later. To fast forward to WMVU, it was the Christmas time of 2018. And I had a good friend that I used to manage. He had a rap group. It was Ace and D. And there were a lot of changes going on with his career was booming. So he asked me, hey, would you be interested in working with this station? And I said, sure, why not? I had a lot of experience because I worked at Clear Channel Radio. And, of course, when I was in grad school, I was studying, I was at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as an intern. So it just everything seemed to fit. And, I worked in Alabama in radio and some special event stuff there. So I immediately, January of 2019, saw the post come across and said, okay, I'll go ahead and do that. I'll step in as a volunteer and start working with this radio station called WMVU, which means Many Voices United. And that's kind of how I started getting involved with the station. Started at the beginning of 2019.
Nice. And it sounds like there's a lot going on at the radio station. I've had a chance to work with you a couple of times here and there. I wanted to get your point of view on this. What have been some of the most recent works that you've done for WMVU and the Akron area?
Good question, Joyce. So MVU has been a feat. I mean, I've taken the whole 2019 year, and of course it's 2020 now, and I was taking programming and taking the actual physical software program that I thought I wanted to use, and that software program, I really didn't like it. So I consulted with the chief engineer who retired from the University of Akron, Blake Thompson, and asked him, hey, what are some software programs that I can use that are that's something that I could put my teeth into, right? So he made a suggestion about something that was much more broadcast driven, because you got to remember, all I've worked in is professional radio stations. I'm not saying that mean, they're smaller stations.
Right.
I don't want to say, I don't want to degrade any type of program as far as software. It's just this specific software program was a little more better for me to use. So one of the things we did with WMVU going into 2020 is I changed up the software program to make it more as you would see on a real on a real radio station, like one of your big stations, like an iHeart or something like that. So I changed that. So I'm in the process of that new software is in place. We did host an event last year where we had Ted Golden Voice Williams, and he came to Akron as a kind of like an introduction of the station. I think a radio station now has to go in a different direction. I think now you have to have a skill set in marketing. I mean, now you do have these divisions within companies and radio stations, but I think now with the way stations are defining their staff and they're breaking them down, you have to have skill sets in various areas, and that's very important to have. So one of the things we did as a community outreach is we brought Ted Williams in, the Golden Voice, who was the homeless gentleman who was blessed enough to get out of that lifestyle, and so we hosted that event as kind of an introduction. I've been working real closely with some of the students at the Ohio Media School, which happened closer to the end of 2019. So I have some Ohio Media School students that I'm giving the opportunity to learn and to get some experience. So I'm teaching them various aspects of broadcasting, but also aspects of the entertainment industry. So that could be special event planning, that can be entertainment management, that could be booking. I teach them a little bit about ASCAP and BMI. All of these things are threaded together within the industry so that they can have a really good idea of how not only broadcasting works, but how other parts of communications and entertainment works. Okay.
That sounds like a lot of work, Chris. And you talked about just recently how you were helping those students. I want to get your community point of view on this. And why do you think WMVU is important for not only the Akron area, but also, Chris, the entire Northeast Ohio community? It seems like you've been doing a lot. Why do you think all of your work is important for this area?
Okay, well, that's a great question. One of the things I want to make sure I mention is Jennifer Tolles, who is actually the brains behind WMVU and something called The Womb. And the reason I'm mentioning that, because this is going to tie in with your question, because The Womb is basically a nonprofit that's located on Market Street, and they basically launched this station as a grassroots awareness of the community, and they deal with issues of arts, solutions to various things that were going on in the community, involving constituencies historically absent from the local media. So they originally were to create local and multicultural programming, including youth, and facilitate individuals and groups to reach beyond themselves in the terms of education and cultural expression and outreach. So that's kind of like the mission of them. So when I got involved with them, it kind of worked hand in hand as a community road stuff. They said, look, you know a lot about the broadcasting business from a grassroots perspective.
Right.
Even though I worked for some major companies for a short period of time, it's good to have that grassroots community-based person who understands all walks of life in all demographics. I always like to say that I'm very well diverse in various types of music and just being around different cultures. So although you can't cover all the bases, you can't help every single body, but based and on a Northeast Ohio based, as you were asking, I think it's really key. One of the things that I strive for, if God willing, that this continues to grow, is to teach or educate someone who wants to do something like this to look into doing it, but then look beyond. Because back when I was, and so when you talk about the community, that's kind of how I look at that when you ask about community. So that's kind of how I want to feed the community as far as people that might be interested. But also to place that seed that says to you, hey, I was on the radio, right? But I had no idea, Darius, that I was going to go from being on WAUP to doing University Program Board, where I'm booking entertainment and for the May Day Festival. There was something at the University of Akron called the May Day Festival. So what I want to do community-wise is pull that out of somebody and show them that, there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Right.
You might get in this, and you might, like I've told you, you may want to do sports. That's your main love. But then you've got all these little minor things that are going on that you may be able to get involved in that keeps your foot or keeps your hand in the game. So I hope that kind of answers your question regarding the community.
Yes, it certainly does. Thank you so much for joining us again, ladies and gentlemen. Christavus Dominic of WMVU in Akron. Chris, before you go, I just wanted to ask, you've talked a lot about WMVU and why it's important. I want to ask you finally, how can people access the WMVU website? How can people see your work? How can people see what you're doing in the Akron area?
Great. The thing I like about WMVU, it's really easy to get to. It's www.wmvu.org. It's very, very easy to get to. Many Voices United. We are working and when I say we, I have a great group of interns that I work with off and on. And of course, I've got a gentleman, Terry, up in Cleveland, Terry Allen, who helps with production, things that I may need regarding production. Of course, I got Blake Thompson. WMVU.org is the place to go. That's the site. It's very straightforward. You click Listen Live. We are working on, Darius, we're trying to nail this down, that soon we will be able to have the Alexa app, so that if you're in home, you just be able to tell Alexa, hey, Alexa, enable WMVU.org. We're still working that out. We're hoping to have that maybe by the time this is aired, that'll be happening. But as long as they're going to the site at www.wmvu.org, they'll be able to get on there, click on there, and listen live. There's a little information about the station. There's our mission, of course, information on how kind of WMVU got started. And then there'll be a program list up there. I'll be working with, I know you didn't ask this, but I'll just run this by you real quick. I have kind of a different lineup. We're going to have Democracy Now! That runs Monday through Sunday. And something that's very important to me is mental health. And so I'm going to have a piece on mental health that people will be able to listen to Monday through Friday. We've got some Italian programming, Christian music programming, something between 9 and 5, believe it or not, as opposed to going to slow music. We got a thing called Technoasis, which is basically, with Technoasis, it's like dance, kind of, as they would call EDM music. And then, of course, there's reggae, island music, there's jazz and blues. It's a pretty creative list. We got Motown and funk, and then also, of course, we are in the process of more than anything promoting Ted the Golden Voice Williams, and that's going to be exciting to hear what he has to say. So that's how you get to it. I know I gave you a little bit more than what you probably wanted.
Oh, no worries.
And then finally, one other thing is it's called Rock the Light. That's going to be a branded show that I'm going to be doing on Sunday night And really what that is, basically, it's a new international radio show featuring independent artists from across the globe. Obviously, Northeast Ohio, Akron, Cleveland, this is my home. I love this place. So, of course, there's definitely going to be artists, but the whole goal there is to help promote independent artists and help them get out there and to be heard. So that'll be really, really excited about Rock the Lights, and I think that's going to be a great winner for us. So WMVU.org.
Chris, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Seems like you've been doing a lot with the radio station. Best of luck as you continue, and I hope to speak to you soon again.
Thanks, Darius.